Hey everyone, Diggs here for Lockpickers United, and welcome back. For LPU Unlock number 4, I'm going to be showing you an old video that I made. It was the very first purple belt lock that I ever picked, a 5-pin Medeco original. And this puppy was pretty worn by the time I got her, but still difficult, and took me quite a while to figure out how to get her open. So this is well before the days where I cared about lighting, or angles, or audio, or really anything to do with making videos. This was simply a proof video, and the only intention here was to show that I picked the lock and that I hadn't modified anything about it. What I'm using here to set the pins is a custom made, my first custom made pick, 37 thousandths pick. The keyway on this lock is pretty wide open, and I had some windshield wiper blades. So I took them apart thinking, hey, I can make some tension wrenches out of my windshield wiper inserts. Well, inside the windshield wipers I had, there was 37 thousandths thick and almost a ½ inch wide strips of metal. So instead of making a tension wrench, I made a pick. And it had a pretty ridiculous looking profile to it. So I kind of copied the decap lifter idea and had a wedge shape hook at the end of it, but on both sides of that wedge shape there was a big rounded piece. And while it did pretty well setting pins, it was terrible for rotation, which is why I designed it. So first failure in pick making, but also a partial success. As you can see, I'm cranking the tension down and I'm going counterclockwise because I tried picking this thing clockwise for probably 2 weeks with no luck. And finally I switched the direction of rotation and it popped right open. I shot this film directly after I picked it open the first time, and the setup is kind of terrible because I was on a work trip and staying in a hotel. There you see, I get it open, and I couldn't be happier, though I try and remain stoic. And then I do a, I don't know, passable job of keeping this thing in frame and gutting it at the same time. You can see the camera work's just terrible. And I did you guys a favor and pulled out most of the audio in this video because it was just bad. So here I'm showing you that the grub screws are there, everything's installed legit. Very concerned that someone was going to watch this and think, oh, he did something to this lock. So I was as careful as I could be. There I've got my old mini mats from Sparrows. I sped this section up too because I took my sweet time laying these pins out. So if you're not familiar with Medecos, they have some really interesting features. The key pins are wedged at the tip, and they interact with angular cuts on the key. So not only do you have to lift the pins to the correct height, you also have to rotate them to the correct angle. When you rotate the pins to the correct angle, the sidebar fingers are allowed to insert into the pins, which allows the sidebar to leave the lock body and enter the plug. It's a really fascinating mechanism, and I remember when I first came across Medeco thinking, this is just the coolest thing. Later I became more fascinated by Emhart because I think they took it a step further, but they got sued out of the business because they kind of stole the idea. So you can see there's only one security pin in this lock, it's number 2, and you can see at the number 5 key pin just how damaged these pins are. I think about half of that wear is from me and about half is from the last guy, but have a good rest of the day. Happy picking.